You are listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report, episode 177.2, our boys basketball Friday night previews featuring the CIC championship game between Oak Hill and Blackford with Blackford head coach Aaron Daniels, Oak Hill head coach Kevin Renbarger, and of course Michelle Garmon of the Tipton Tribune and Elwood Call Leader. Join me to talk about the games, and we made some picks as well.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengels.
Welcome, basketball fans, to the Central Indiana Sports Report for our boys basketball report, our previews of Friday's boys basketball games in Blackford, Delaware, Grant, Howard, Madison, Tipton, and Northern Hamilton Counties. I'm joined by Michelle Garmon with her thoughts on Friday's games. Also, our Central Indiana Sports Report game of the week is an obvious one. It's the CIC Championship between Oak Hill and Blackford in Hartford City. We will hear from both Blackford head coach Aaron Daniels and Oak Hill head coach Kevin Renbarger about the matchup. We will talk about all the other games as well, including a couple of other big CIC games and big games in our coverage area, and that's Mississinawa and Frankton for potentially second place in the CIC, and between Madison Grant and Alexandria, potentially for fifth place in the CIC. Here it is. Thanks for listening. Welcome back to the Central Indiana Sports Report, Michelle Garmon. And of course, the CIC comes down to this.
It does. First, let me say I am so happy to be back. It's been a long 2 to 3 weeks, but between us with
That's right. Yeah.
illness, it's so
Yeah.
it's nice to be back.
Yeah, it's always good having you on, and glad everybody's starting to get healthy. So Susie said
Yes.
today was her first day that she's close to 100%. So
Well, that's good.
it is.
Yes, and you're right. The CIC comes down to a big matchup Friday night. A win by Oak Hill clinches the at least a share of the conference for them since they have another game remaining.
No, it would clinch it all because Blackford lost to Eastbrook.
Oh,
So
that's right. That's
yeah,
right. Yeah. So I mean, they went. Yes, yes. So big game for Blackford with the Aaron Daniels is first year coach. I'll tell you what, he's done a really nice job with the Bruins this year.
he really has meshing a couple of really good veterans with some really good young talent.
Yeah, and Gage Baker is. I have got to see him in action a couple times, and he's a he's a really nice player.
He is special. He's one of those smart players that every team needs as its leader.
Yeah, and it's nice that Blackford has him because we know what Oak Hill has in their backcourt, and
That's right.
they have in Jace Tonigal, who is he's a special player. He's a coach's kid. I mean, his dad's a great
Mm-hmm.
coach for Indiana Wesleyan, or it's not. Yeah,
Indiana
no,
Wesleyan.
yeah, it is Indiana Wesleyan. Sorry,
No
I
problem.
forget. It used to be Marion College, and now it's
Right.
Indiana Wesleyan. Every now and then I forget that stuff. You know,
That's
but
a rivalry. I think we're going to see for 2 more years after this with Oak Hill's Jace Tonigal, who is a sophomore star, and Blackford freshman Mari Leggett, who is a freshman star. That rivalry gets going on Friday night too.
yes, it does. There's this area is blessed with some talented players, seniors, and then underclassmen.
Yeah. The CIC, I wouldn't say this year has been great. I think this year it's been pretty good.
Yes.
Probably by CIC standards, pretty well below average, but the next 3 years, they are going to be some battles in the CIC.
Yes, there will be.
And Mississinawa's coming. Frankton is still gonna. They've got some good young kids and younger classes. Um, you know, Alexandria, of course, they don't have any seniors. They run out mostly sophomores and a few juniors with a couple of really talented freshmen. We're
Yeah,
talking, yeah, just it's going to be the next couple of years in the CIC is going to be special.
Yeah, because Franklin next year, the youngest Robston will
That's
be a
right.
freshman. Um, and he's like a 6'6" or 6'8", and he's a guard.
Mm,
He can go down underneath, but he can also shoot it out. I've watched that young man in the gym for the last several years, and it's been fun to watch him grow. And he's always playing with the older kids. Always has played with the older kids after girls' games, after boys' games. Anybody that wants to go out there, you know. So, but that's the future.
yeah.
Friday night. Let's
Now let's get
yeah.
back to Friday night. I talked to Blackford head coach Aaron Daniels and Oak Hill head coach Kevin Renbarger. We're going to hear from both of them coming up. Your thoughts on what Coach Daniels had to say, and your thoughts on the job he's done in his first year, such a good young coach.
Yeah, I think he kind of hit the nail on the head with his comments. Um, he they got lucky, or not lucky. They played
Right,
a
they got a
couple
lot of breaks in the
teams.
schedule. Yes.
Yes, they played a couple teams early that they have progressed better. Have
Right.
progressed along the way to get off to a good start. But I just think he's done an outstanding job. Of course, he had with Baker and two other seniors. He had some kids with varsity experience, and it sounds like they all got on the same page, and they got on the same page before the season officially began. And that's key because it can be tough. I
Yeah.
think when you have a new coach and then you have some young talent coming in and then you have some returning, I think it's important. And I think that it's important because it's got to be, the kids have got to be willing to be coached by someone else, and they've got to be willing to change their roles if asked under a new system. But at the same time, I think a coach coming in has got to recognize the strengths of the players, of the best players he's got coming back. And he maybe their style doesn't necessarily fit what he wants to do, his system. But I think a great coach, a really good coaches know how to tweak it to accommodate, and slow that. I'm going to guess within the next couple of years, it will be, everything will be. But if you want to be successful early, and I think Blackford was, and I'm going to guess Coach Daniels was willing to look at what he had and make sure that what he wanted to accomplish took advantage of the strengths of those three seniors.
Absolutely. The other thing we've loved about Coach Daniels is that he loves coming on and talking about and promoting his kids. And here is my conversation with Coach Daniels earlier Thursday evening. Coach, your team has put itself in position to win a CIC championship. Been a really good run. Now you get the big one at home on Friday for all of the marbles against Oak Hill. Just if you don't mind, tell me what it's taken for your team to get to this point.
Well, I'll tell you the first thing. It's taken, good scheduling for the first thing, to end up with Oak Hill at the end of your conference schedule. Is
Yeah,
fantastic because they're really good. So it sets up this stage, for the finale here. But it's been some bumps and turns. We went on the road at Frankton, which, to us is one of the best wins of the year for us, going to
definitely.
Frankton and winning. And then, we kind of took care of business in some other games. We caught Alexandria and Madison Grant, two teams that were, early on in their year starting to put it together, before they kind of got going. And then, we lost at Eastbrook, which was kind of a reality check for us, kind of put us back into focus mode and some different things. And so it's just been a really good schedule of some ups and downs. And, you play to have yourself in a position like this where, we've controlled, the outcome, really from the start, and we still have that advantage. So, we're just looking forward to the atmosphere, tomorrow night and some different things.
Especially that your first season, you got some young guys on your team. I know you got a good senior leader who you're going to miss an awful lot. But to get to this point right now, um, in this point in the program's development, you got to be really happy with being in this position.
Oh, I'm extremely pleased. Our kids, as seniors, when you've got three seniors like we do that all contribute, and we've got one that's averaging almost 17 a game. So for him to start for 4 years and then to accept a new coach his senior year and then to mold into what we're asking them to do, some different styles, some different philosophies. And then you bring on a freshman who can score it and can do some different things. I'm so proud of the way the kids have responded and to have ourselves in a position when we started the year, our goals were, to compete in the sectional, try to win a sectional title, get a conference crown there and have a winning record. And all those things are still ahead of us. We've still got a chance at all three, and really the big one tomorrow night with the conference. I'm really proud of where we're at in our development. You're right. We have a freshman that's, second leading scorer, leads us in assists. He's, I think, second in rebounds, second in steals, almost every single category. And he gets better every single game. And as he gets better, it takes some pressure off some of the other kids. So we're really pleased about where we are. We still have a long way to go, but we're definitely peaking, I think, at the right time of the year.
Blackford, of course, it has a great tradition of basketball. One of the best traditions in the CIC for sure. But it's been not a CIC championship this century. That's hard to believe, isn't it?
It is, especially, everybody talks about the Luke Brown era. The first
Sure.
time you tell somebody you're the head coach at Blackford, it's usually the first thing out of people's mouths. And to not win one during that era just is a great testament to how deep and how good the CIC is
Absolutely.
year in and year out. I mean, those were some of the best teams in 2A for those 4 years that he was there. And they never were able to achieve that. And so the CIC is so deep. I mean, there's not an off night, any given night. And so for us, to look back at the history of Blackford basketball and those good years and to not have one since 98, just what a great opportunity for our kids. And I think our kids understand how important that is. And our community understands how important that is. We were looking up at the banner in the gym the other night about, 1998, the last time that we had achieved that. So definitely a great opportunity for us.
But it's not going to be easy, of course. Even at home, Oak Hill is the program. That's, by the way, a big reason why Blackford hasn't won one in a long time is you talked about the good teams. Oak Hill for so long. Coach Renbarger has that team up at the top of the CIC, it seems, every year. I guess if you're going to win it, you wouldn't want to do it any other way.
Well, and that's how it should be. You should have to go through the top programs, if you're going to win. You don't want anything given to you, especially at this level. And Coach Renbarger, it does such a fine job. And that's the only bad part about playing them at the end of the year is they continue to get better, and they have gotten better. And they've went on this stretch of games where they're playing some really good basketball too. And so we know it's going to take a full team effort, and it's going to take a really good basketball game out of us to beat them. But that's what makes it worth it. You get to play one of the top programs in the area. And they've got some young kids that contribute. The Tonga kid's only a sophomore. Their eighth grade is loaded. I mean, it's only going to continue. So we've got the opportunity right now, staring us right in the face, and we're looking forward to it. Like I've said.
Before we talk about their personnel and probably the best guard in the conference, maybe the best player in the conference, in fact.
Mhm.
Tell me real fast about Coach Renbarger. I saw this last night that they won their 900th game in program history, and he has almost 300 of them, which is just incredible.
Well, I'll tell you, as a first year coach, getting to 10 was an absolute struggle. The time, the preparation, all of these kinds of things. And in today's world, the longevity of a coach like Coach Renbarger and the success that they've been able to sustain, you're either going up or you're going down. And they have just continued to build on successful season after successful season. I know he's right there at 300 wins. That's an incredible achievement. I mean, he is one of the better coaches in the state of Indiana, and the CIC has some really good coaches, so, what he's been able to do and to do it at one place like that year in and year out and have his kids buy into what they're doing, both offensively and defensively, just an incredible feat.
And a team that the focus obviously will be on the backcourt with Tonigal and Sugar. You know, that's got to be the number one focus of anybody who's playing no kill. But they also have some other pieces. Tell me a little bit of what the game plan is going into this and how you stop them and beat them on defense.
Well, I think it all starts with Tonagel. You know, he may be the best player that we have seen to this point, and it's hard to simulate
Wow.
that, especially in practice when we don't have anybody that can simulate that speed and that quickness and the strength of a kid at that size. So I think it all starts with him. Everybody game plans to stop him, but a kid like that, if you let him get one or two times where you lose him, whether it's in transition or in the half court offense, and you let him see a couple go in, he's really hard to stop because, there's things that we call a bad shot that for him aren't a bad shot because they
Right.
go in. And then the thing that I think sets him apart is his passing. So, everybody knows he can score it, 22 points a game, but, almost every kid on their team is averaging over 4 points a game outside of Sugar because, he's so good at getting to the basket and pulling defense and he can
Right.
kick it to him. So, if you're open, he's going to find you. And if you don't help on him, he's going to find his way to the basket. And then to have a guy like Sugar who, can do the same types of things, maybe not scored at that kind of clip, but, he's averaging 15 a game, which is unbelievable. And so he shoots it really well. They move the ball well in transition. They get the ball from one end to the other. And then they just stifle you with defense. They know who they are. They know what they do. And so it all starts with the two guards. You got to be able to stop them. You've got to dominate the glass. They're not overly big by any means. But you've got to be able to dominate the glass, and you got to give them one opportunity, and you've got to make it a shot that you think is contested. And then you got to hope that, maybe they have a little bit of an off night at times.
Michelle, it really is unbelievable that Blackford hasn't won a conference championship since 1998, especially as Coach Daniel said, as Luke Brown went through the CIC. Really shows you how good the CIC was. And a big reason for that is because Oak Hill's been winning them all.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, Kevin
Between
has
Oak Hill
been,
and Frankton.
yes, and oh yeah, and Kevin has been blessed. I mean, he's been really blessed with a lot of um, talented kids through the years, but he's also an outstanding coach because he's made the most out of that talent. Um, and Oak Hill has been good for years. I remember back when Kevin, back in the 2000s, when Derek Elston and Tipton had that really good team, and they, the gym, Tipton's gym, on for the sectional when those two teams played each other.
Mm.
I think one year was a championship that actually got moved to a Monday night because Oak Hill's girls won the state championship
Oh,
on
that's
a
right.
Saturday. And what I like is Kevin has always, all the years, through the years that he's coached, he's great for media. He always
Yeah,
makes himself accessible
absolutely.
to us, to any media, whether you're covering Oak Hill regularly or you're the visiting media, like I'm the visiting media. And he's done a wonderful job. He's got a great program there, a great system. And I forgot until listening, until we were talking, until the conversation with you were talking to him, that he's from he's a native of Oak Hill. So or an alumni, I should say. Not Oak Hill is a school, not a
Mm.
community, but so he's an alumni. And he's just done a wonderful job. They develop their players. Um, you know, Even in maybe down seasons, they're above 500. They're
Right.
500 or slightly above. I mean,
Yeah.
they don't lose a lot.
No, great program. And here is my conversation earlier on Thursday with Oak Hill head coach Kevin Renbarger. Coach, I saw on Tuesday night that the win was the 900th in program history. Incredible program. If you'll do this for me a minute, having run it for the last couple of decades, tell me about the tradition of Oak Hill basketball.
Man, you say the last couple of decades, that makes me feel old. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm a graduate of Oak Hill, so my memory dates back to the mid to late 70s, and it's just, it's been a program that has constantly and consistently competed for conference championships and county championships and much higher. So, there's a long list of great basketball coaches and great basketball players at Oak Hill that have continued to make the program be what it is. long before we were there, and while we've been there, and we're just kind of stewards of the program until somebody else takes our position. And that's kind of what we told the kids after the game, that that name on the chest, 900 wins, means there were a lot of folks that came before you, and we just want to be good stewards of the program until and show the way for those that come after.
Lots of championships, and got another one on Friday. It's just basically a single game championship. Now that you and Blackford are the only two teams that can win it. Winning the CIC, it doesn't come easy.
No, it doesn't. And to be sitting here in the mid to late part of February and talking about having an opportunity to still remain undefeated in the conference with 2 games to play, I would have never guessed that we would have been in that position. It's a credit to the kids and how far they've come this year. We've played a lot of good opponents within the CIC and have been able to come out on top every game. After Tuesday night's game, I feel like we're heading in the right direction, playing our best basketball, and we're going to need to. Because Blackford is a good basketball team, probably the best team that we've played thus far. No disrespect to anybody else in the conference, but we play them over there. It'll be quite a challenge, but I think our kids understand how big the game is.
And that's really the thing, is going on the road and winning the CIC every night is really tough. And then you throw in a team like Blackford, and it's a big challenge.
Yeah, I mean, every place you go to, as you said, they have a kind of a stake, and Oak Hill's no different. It's a tough place to play for opponents, and so Blackford is no different. We've, most recently during the Luke Brown era, had kind of taken it on the chin over there a couple of times. One time we really kind of got beat all the way back to Mirror, Indiana, and then another time we lost on a last-second shot. So, we've had some great success there. We've in the past, back when they had the Chris boys and we had Durkis and Martin and those guys. We did the same thing. We went over there with an opportunity to win the conference, came up short in overtime, and so we're kind of hoping to rectify that several years later, obviously.
And it won't be easy. This is a pretty good Blackford team that's been playing pretty well. And when you got young kids like they do, they tend to improve quickly, and Blackford has definitely been that this year.
Yeah, they've got one kid, obviously it's the freshman. Yeah, he's come a long ways, but then they also sprinkle in some veteran play. The Baker kid is 5 points shy of 1,000 and a senior. So I think
nice
the game
player.
is very nice player. Both of them are, and they've got a nice basketball team. They've got a kid by the name of Kitterman who will have an opportunity to score as well, and could beat us as well. So I think the game is going to feature at least 4 probably of the top players in the conference.
Right. Yeah.
Some of the top 6, 7 players in the conference on any given night, and so it should equate to some high level basketball and a fun game to watch and a fun game to play in.
Speaking of which, you mentioned that you're starting to play well, your best basketball. What's been the biggest difference as your team has grown this year?
I think just a couple of things. One, we were really, really good on the defensive end Tuesday night. Western is a really good basketball team.
Yes, they are.
And they play a tough schedule, and they came in there, playing well, and we were able to kind of shut them down on the defensive end. So I think, our defense has come a long ways during the course of the season, and then just the connectivity of the group. They're a close-knit group. They play for each other and with each other, and that's huge. We have a couple of kids who could definitely attempt to take over if they wanted to, but they know that's not probably the best for our particular basketball club. And so, everybody kind of does their own part. And so as we start to get into the last quarter of the season here, it's definitely the toughest quarter of the season starting Friday night, or actually it was starting last Tuesday night. If they don't play connect and play on the defensive end, we're going to get an L hung on us. So, it's going to require everything that we have every night that we step on the floor from here until the remainder of the season.
It's going to be a big one. I assume you favor Oak Hill. I would guess, if I had to, Oak Hill right around 10 points. What about you?
I think because the game is being played at Blackford, and it all depends on the crowd and what kind of they get. And I know Oak Hill is used to it. I think the gyms are kind of similar. I would say 10 or under. It could be close. It could be, I
Oh,
think it will be
Blackford
at
could
least.
win, Michelle. I mean,
Yeah, Blackford could win. I mean, they're
absolutely.
capable, especially
Yeah.
if Oak Hill cannot knock down outside shots.
Yeah.
Threes. They're gonna have to hit some threes.
If you can go to Frankton and win, you can beat Oak Hill at home. You can. I'm not
Yes.
saying they're going to. Again, I would pick Oak Hill. But if you
Oh
can
yeah.
win at Frankton, you're capable of beating Oak Hill at home.
Yeah, and I think part of Oak Hill's strength, or one of the reasons they should be favored, is I know Frankton and Mississinawa were co-champions last year, but Oak Hill's always in it. They
Right.
were third in the
Yes.
conference last year, and
And
so
and one game away from being tied for first. So,
yeah,
they
yeah, and their kids are used to being in these situations,
yes, they are.
and so that allows them. I think sometimes they handle them. Gives you a little bit of an advantage in the situation of as big a game. I would say maybe if this game had been played a month ago on Blackford's home court, it definitely would not. I might
Right.
say I would be even even odds, even up,
But the way Oak
because
Hill's been playing, man.
yeah, but the
Yeah.
way they've been playing, it's down through the end of the season when. I mean, this is a big game. It's an important game, but it's at the time of year when games are important.
Right.
We're a couple weeks, 3 weeks away from the sectional.
That's
You know,
right.
or I guess 2.5 weeks basically. Oak Hill's built. They're always built for this time of year. So
Absolutely. And speaking of which, I'll talk about a few other games here coming up, Michelle. If you have any thoughts, let me know. 10-8 Frankton at 8-9 Mississinawa could be for second place in the CIC if Oak Hill beats Blackford.
yeah, going to Mississinawa makes it a little, maybe a little tough. But I'll tell you what, you know, uh, Frankton is putting it all together right now, and that's what you
Yeah.
know.
Well,
Brent's
Michelle, even when they were losing, they were playing well most of the time.
right. I mean, I when I say put it all together, I mean that
Yeah,
they're finding ways
you're right.
to
Yeah.
put four complete quarters together. The only thing that still concerns me a little bit about them is, and I know they have done well with their 3-point shooting some, is that I mean that's a key for them is if they can hit threes or if they're not hitting threes, not stay and the free throws. That's telling for them. They've got to make free throws and they really need to be able to hit more than three threes in a game and big games. But Brent's I think uh, one of the top coaches in the state, and he has a way of always having his kids ready to play, and they're always well prepared.
And Mississinawa is 8-9, but some of their losses, they just had close losses to Pendleton Heights and Delta, a 3A and a 4A. I mean, a good 3A, a defending regional
Yeah,
champion, and Pendleton Heights.
they,
Um, they lost a close one to Western. Um, you know, Lapel, they lost a 4-point game to Lapel. They lost by 2 points to Oak Hill. We'd be talking about them in this race as well. So this is a team that's 8-9. That's not really 8-9.
right. No, they're pretty good. They got a
Just
good
like Frankton's not 10-8.
right. They got a good post player forward in
Yes.
Conte Woods, and
Yeah.
they got a young, they got a nice freshman of their own.
Yes, they
Yeah,
do.
it's pretty good. And then I think they've got maybe another player. And my guess is some of their struggles or inconsistency may be because of the young um, of the
Yeah.
young guard. Because Keontae was, I think, the only kid with significant or player with significant varsity time returning. And
Yeah.
you know, when you get in big games or close games down the stretch, it's nice to have a veteran presence. I know Grady Carpenter played well as a freshman, but he had Nolan Swan, and
Yeah.
there were upperclassmen around him to help handle that pressure that were experienced, that had varsity level play, and
Mississinawa is going to need to win this one, Michelle. They're coming up after Eastbrook. They've got Bluffton, Noblesville, and Manchester. Man, that is a really tough way to close the regular season.
yeah, I mean, well, yeah, that is very tough, and do To play Noblesville is at this time of
Whew.
year is going to be a tall task. Yes.
And Manchester hasn't lost since their first game of the season. So
No, I know. I mean, it is for Mississinawa. This is key. Otherwise, they could enter into the postseason a way that teams don't like to enter, and that is on a losing streak.
yeah, that said, they look like one of the best three teams in the sectional. So and a sectional that's kind of open. I mean, they were fairly competitive with Marion in the opening game until late, and so we'll see. Maybe they'll be battle tested. And I'll take Frankton in this one, Michelle, but I'll be surprised if it's more than 5 points either way.
I agree with you. I like Frankton in this one too, just because I think they're playing pretty well right now.
6-10,
And I mean, and they're veteran. They're a veteran team. Joey
absolutely.
Wright, Brady Carmack know they're at the end. Their high school basketball careers are winding down.
And of course, they've won 6 in a row, as we kind of predicted.
Yes.
6-10, Madison Grant is at 6-13, Alexandria, another good CIC game, and this one is for fifth place in the CIC.
Yeah, that game could be interesting.
Yes, it can.
And
Yeah.
I think it's because I don't think either team has a has a I think they're competitive,
Yes.
hard-nosed kids that have found success in some other sports, but they don't have a Jason. And I don't
Bro,
mean they
yeah,
just don't have a basketball kid,
you're right.
strict basketball kid on their team.
I believe Alexandria might in some of their younger classes. That's yet to be determined, but you're right. That's exactly the issue. And of course, Madison Grant goes to Alexandria, so the Alexandria has the home court advantage. Madison Grant, of course, plays almost all seniors except Brock Barnhart, who's been on fire for them. Alexandria plays all juniors and sophomores.
Yeah, I will say this though. The jungle is a very tough place to win,
Yes, it is. That's what I'm
especially
saying.
late in
Yeah.
the season.
Yes, and Alexandria is starting to play better. They're starting to play like they're a little more veteran.
Yes.
And by the way,
They'll still have, I mean, unfortunately for them, their sectional still holds Wapahani.
yes, but Bryson Eckler is going to be a good one. Sorry,
Oh, yeah, I'm picking Alexander in that one. I'm sorry.
I would say Alexandria by 6, maybe. That'd be my. But again, won't be surprised either way.
I won't be surprised either way. I won't be surprised if it comes down to the last possession.
Right.
And I won't be surprised if would win, if one of them would surprise and win by more than 6.
Yeah.
I think it's because, again, it's a hard game to judge who is,
Yeah. It's two very athletic teams that, by the way, like you said, just don't have that guy. Although Brock Barnhart for Madison Grant was the last couple of games, so we'll see.
Yeah, and I know Luke Gilman has had some games for them this year.
He's been very good. Yeah.
They're just not a Joy Wright or a Jace Tonigal or a Gage Baker, or like a Grady Carpenter or,
Right.
somebody that you can just say, put the ball in his hands and know that he's just, even if they're having an off game, they're still going to make key plays.
Speaking of which, Eastbrook may have one of those players with sophomore Jaden Yows. He's the one I didn't mention earlier. They're 8-7. They go to 7-11 Westdale, a pretty good Westdale team, but I think Eastbrook's playing well and probably win that game.
Well, he's kind of shocked Blackford. I guess it might not be so shocking. I think the score was more shocking to me than maybe the win. I think Eastbrook, again, it's a well coached team. It's first year coach.
Yeah.
He came over from the girls program, Lydic, and he had a very. They were back to back sectional champions, and he's knows how to. He's successful, and his kids, his girls' teams always were, kind of tough nosed and everything. And I'm guessing that that's what he brought to Eastbrook.
Yeah.
I think Eastbrook has had some talent, and nothing against the coach that was there before, but I just think it's probably a more structured program under Lydic.
And they're young. Another team that's young too and has a lot of young talent and
Mm.
and toughness with Bodie Howell as well as a junior. He's one of the
Yes.
toughest players in the league. That's going to be a dangerous team going forward too. Our only independent, Lapel's won 8 games in a row. They're 14-5, ranked 11th in 2A. They go to 11-6 Shenandoah. Very good Shenandoah team, but Lapel by 8.
Yeah, I mean, I know Lapel got a big win at Tipton, and it was a big win. But I will also say, that was Tipton. That was that stretch where Tipton played 5 games in 9 days,
Right.
and and when they played Lapel, that was actually 4 games in less than. I think that was actually 4 games in 6 days at that time. So, or 6 or 7. That's. But Lapel is rolling. I mean, I'm telling you, they're trending right. Tipton's kind of steady. Tipton has a big game at Taylor on Friday night. Oh, sorry. Speaking of Shenandoah, Tipton did
Saturday
beat
night.
Shenandoah Saturday night. Yes, sorry. But speaking of Shenandoah, that's who Tipton beat on Saturday afternoon.
Right.
And but I do want to give a shout out real quick to Coach Cliff Hawkins at Tipton. That was his 100th win at Tipton. I mean, this man is quickly approaching 600 career wins, but he did get number 100 career win, number 100 at Tipton against Shenandoah. And but yes, Shenandoah is a team. I think Shenandoah is a very good defensive team.
Yeah.
And so it could be over at Shenandoah. That can be a tough place to win. When they're there too. So, but I do think Lapel's trend. They're going in the right direction right now. I think them and Frankton are on a good trajectory. I think we'll know a little bit more about Tipton as they kind of close out the season here.
Right.
And then just because, like I said, their schedule's kind of been crazy because they played a bunch of games in a short amount of days, and then had like a week off, bunch of game. It's just been screwy. And then but Taylor's kind of they're kind of in a tailspin themselves. So I thought they should. My guess is they should get right on Friday night against Tri Central. And nothing against the Trojans. I just think Tri Central sometimes has trouble matching up with athletic kids, and Taylor's got a lot of athletic kids.
You're getting ahead of yourself, Michelle. We're still getting to that one. All right.
We'll get to that. Sorry about that.
No problem. A couple quick things. I bet I've reported on 200 of Cliff Hawkins wins in some way or form. I was in Fort Wayne when he was at DeKalb. I was at Jeffersonville when he was at Madison, and now I'm up here when he's at Tipton. So it seems like I'm following him around the state. All right. And also, at one point in this season, there was some grumbling in Lapel about what was going on with them, and that seems really silly at this point, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, I mean, but people have to understand, and I don't think unless you've. That's why I always tell people, sometimes you want to grumble at coaches, you have to look at the whole, or grumble at different things. You have to look at the picture. Lapel's football team won a section. They played in the regional.
Yeah.
Devin Craig is the quarterback for that football team.
Mm-hmm.
You don't just turn around and have your basketball legs and become a basketball player in 5 to 15 days.
Yeah. Plus, they played a really tough schedule to start the season.
Yes, they did. And
That's
I
why
mean,
it was silly more than anything, is because they
oh
were losing
yeah,
to really. Yes, they lost to Monroe Central. They should not have lost to Monroe Central. That was the only one where you go, that doesn't. We don't completely understand that.
right. Except that, like I said, early in the season, any of those football players that were playing basketball, it's
Yep.
just a different, it's a different vibe because, when they're playing football, they're not even going in. I mean, Devin Craig is not going to go into any open gyms and play during the football season come tournament time because he's not going to dare take a chance on turning an ankle. Maybe he might shoot free throws or something, but he's not going to take a chance getting injured, because football is his future, I believe.
Yes.
Beyond high school as well. So, it just takes a while. And, these guys need to look to see how successful a coach that Kevin Cherry is and, where he's come from and everything. They're well coached.
Hamilton Heights is 11-6, has won 7 of its last 8 games, playing really, really well. Unfortunately for them, they host 14-3 Westfield, which lost a couple games recently and is probably going to be a little angry.
I would imagine so. Yeah, what I was going to say too is the bad thing is right now, I mean, with the flu epidemic has been
Yeah,
so big, and
yeah.
sometimes like you look at some teams and you think, oh, maybe they've lost some, like Westfield, that that you don't think
Or
maybe they
no,
will
they
lose.
played Fishers and Avon. It was the
Oh,
issue.
that's true.
Yeah.
It was Avon. It wasn't. I thought it was Noblesville they lost to. Was Avon?
No.
Oh, it
Yep.
was Noblesville girls lost to Westfield. That's right.
No. Fishers and Avon. Two of
Yeah.
the best teams in the state. Two other teams
Yes.
that have a potential to win the state championship. So
Yes. Now the Fishers does not surprise me, and uh, Coach Shane Sumter, a Frankton person from Frankton, by the way, actually Westfield's both of their girls and boys programs are coached by Frankton people.
nice.
Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Kelsey Key,
Mm,
um, she's married now. I
right.
think still yeah, she's Frankton's all-time
Right.
score for
Of
girls
course.
basketball as the coach of the Westfield Shamrocks, and they almost pulled off another upset against Hamilton Southeastern in the championship. So
Yes, they did.
kudos
What a great
to
coaching job that was.
yes.
That's a
So
team that got better and better and better through the year. It's at Hamilton Heights. Can they keep it within 15, 20?
um, I don't know. I think it probably depends on the health of both teams. I think if Westfield is totally healthy, I would say I don't know that. Maybe 15. They can keep it within 15, I think.
I think that would be the goal.
Yeah.
If you're a Hamilton Heights fan.
And no more, no more than 20. But Hamilton Heights they are playing really well right now. I'll tell you the key for them is the Saunders kid.
Yes.
I mean,
When he's on
he,
fire, they are impossible to stop.
yeah, and the thing is, he is an inside-outside player.
Yes.
He's a tough matchup to guard because
Takes good
if you
shots.
put
Yeah.
a post player on him who is not, can't really come out and guard at the 3-point line, he's going to burn you from three.
That's
If
right.
you put a guard on him, he's going to go down and go in down there and post you up or do cuts into the inside. And they're going to give him a basket. He's going to score around the rim. I mean, so
Yeah.
he's one of those kids that's tough to match up against.
By the way, Michelle, here is I think you said swoon with Taylor. Their losses were to Sheridan, Clinton Prairie, Frankton, and LaPel. I think almost every team would have a swoon against that. I think you're right. They are not playing as well as they were early in the season, but that's not an easy good just because they've lost 4 games
No,
in a
but I
row.
but
But
I think the Sheridan score, the route that I just
yes, that was a
the
surprise.
way they were,
You're
that
right.
should not have
Yep.
probably happened.
And they
Um,
are at 8-10 Tri Central. Tri Central's been playing well of late. That's a solid team.
yes. Tri Central is a solid team. You know, I really think for Tri Central, the key for them is they really do kind of go how Drake Ramsier and goes. I mean, I think he and JJ and Kobiak both need to be playing pretty well against good teams. And Izzy Fowler, he needs to score, but Izzy probably has been really consistent. A key for them is the Cooper Lanier the
Yep.
freshman has really stepped up and given them some quality minutes. Can they not have empty possessions? Can they take care of the basketball? The games they struggle is they don't take care of the basketball. They'll have empty possessions or they won't, they'll get away from the game plan a little bit. And so, but for them, yeah, I mean, you know, it'll be interesting to see, how they finish out the season as well. I know they're coming
Yeah.
off that big win at Hoosier Gym. It was a game though that Elwood played really well too. So
Right. Yeah. They
I mean,
shot
it
pretty
was
well. Yeah.
yeah, I think it was both teams' best offensive games of the season. So I don't know how much that says about the defense, but you and
No.
I both know we've both covered games at the Hoosier Gym. That because that is a small court, it presents different challenges, and then those two teams may meet on back at one of their gyms or a neutral full size basketball court, and
Yeah. The
um,
outcome could be different for sure. All
Yeah,
right.
the outcome could be different. Score will definitely probably be a little different.
And also in the Hoosier Heartland, a de facto conference championship game. Whoever wins it is going to win at least a share. Sheridan is 13-4, 6-1 in the conference. Carroll is 13-4, 5-1 in the conference. They go head to head Friday. Also, Clinton Prairie is 4-1.
Yeah, all well. Coach teams. I actually forgotten that the other Peck and Paul, there's dad and two boys. Is Chad, I think. Is it Chad Peckinpah? I
Yeah.
believe is the one that's the coach at Clinton Prairie. So, um, you know, what coach teams with good play. Each of those teams has a good player. I would think that I think Sheridan may have the best supporting cast.
Yeah, very deep in talent.
Yeah. So, be you know it'll be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I would probably say that can be a tough place to go play. Now the one thing is Carroll is not hitting three-pointers like they have in the past, and they don't have quite the supporting cast they've had in some
Two
of those
really good
past
players,
games.
though.
Yes. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. I think that game can be close. If it's not close, then I think that favors Sheridan.
All right, Michelle, the rest of these, let's make 10 to 15 seconds.
Okay.
All right. Oh, did we make a. Oh, I want to say something else here. All right. Michelle, if Sheridan wins it, they are at least the a share of the conference champion automatically. If Carroll wins, not necessarily, but they would most likely end up sharing it with Clinton Prairie. 6-10 Eastern is at 1-16 Clinton Central. Eastern by
Eastern.
a dozen.
Yeah, Eastern. It may even be more than a dozen. Although I
Eight
know Clinton Central's been in some games, but it'll be Eastern.
8-9 Indianapolis Washington is at 16-2 Anderson coming off a loss to Noblesville.
Anderson's
And
going to be. I mean,
20
that loss by Anderson was probably a good, not
might be.
necessarily a bad thing,
Yeah.
but I think I think they'll get it back on the winning track this week.
I mean, almost every team in the state goes to Noblesville, they're losing. It's not like it's that's big of a shock.
Right.
Anderson by 25.
Oh yes, at
Okay.
least.
7-11 Richmond is at 14-5 Kokomo. I'm guessing Kokomo big 16.
I think so.
Uh,
Yes, I'll agree with you.
Luke Ertl and the Mount Vernon Marauders are 13-4. They're at 9-8 Marion. That's going to be an interesting one. That's a game either team could win, I think. But I'll take Mount Vernon by 7.
Yeah, I'll take Mount Vernon too. I think have been perhaps the more consistent team.
Really, really good team. Unfortunately, they get a little overlooked in that conference by Greenfield Central and New Pal, but really good team. And speaking of which, 8-10 Newcastle's at 12-5 Delta, the other team that gets overlooked in that conference sometimes. Delta should win that game, but Newcastle's been playing well. I'll take
Yeah,
Delta by 6.
uh, yeah. I think it'll be a close one. I think Delta, but I do think Delta will win. I think Delta's the better team.
2A number 2 Wapahani is 17-1, can clinch the conference championship against a pretty good 12-5 Monroe Central team that started 9-1. I can't remember, maybe in 3-4 in their last 7.
Yeah,
Wapahani by 20.
yeah, maybe a little closer than that, but yes, Wapahani. They should win. I mean, they should control that game from start to finish.
4-11 Daleville is at 4-11 Union City. Daleville's better than a 4-11 team. I say they win.
Yes.
They win
Yeah.
by more than a handful.
Yes.
And 5-9 Randolph Southern's at 3-12 Cowan. Cowan also better than a 3-win team. They've got some talent as well. I'll take Cowan by 5 points.
I'll agree with you there.
All right. And one team that we've kind of overlooked a little, Michelle, Northwestern is 10-6. They are really close to being in the Three Rivers Conference race, and that's a really good conference this year. They are at 4-13 Whitco, and I'll be surprised if Northwestern doesn't win by 18.
It could be 18. It could be a little bit less, but I think they'll control the game. And I say that because I know the style that sometimes Gish coach teams, play. But it could be 10, but Northwestern dominated.
All right, Michelle. And finally, to the Pioneer Conference tournament, the championship game is 6-10 Park Tudor at 11-8 Liberty Christian. It's basically a toss-up. Either team could win that game. I'll take Liberty Christian at home to win, and I'll say by 2 points. I think, again, could go either way, but Liberty Christian's battle-tested. Man, have they played a tough schedule for a Class A team.
Yeah, they have. But you said it's Park Tudor?
Yes.
Park Tudor doesn't play slouchy schedule either.
No, they do not.
But if it's at Liberty Christian, that's going to come down. That's going to come down to the wire.
It really is. It's going to be a
So
good one.
it's that one will probably come. Here's what I think. That one will come down to, can Liberty Christian? Park Tudor's a team that I don't think they can have lapses like they have maybe against APA earlier, and when they
Right.
kind of let Frankton back in, and then gave Frankton a chance to win. I know neither team was outstanding
Yeah,
at the
they were
free throw
outscored
line.
by 22 points by Cathedral in the second half after being in the game most of the game. Yes. It's been a
Yeah, so
little
that
inconsistent, and they're young, so it's kind of understandable.
yes, that is understandable because of their youth. If they find if they can put if they find that they can play a strong 32 minutes, Liberty Christian can play with just about anybody in the state,
Yeah.
even though they're just a Class A school.
Well, they certainly can play with anybody in Class A, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And for fifth place, it's 6-12 Bethesda Christian at 13-5 Anderson Prep. Anderson Prep should get its 14th win of the season, and I'll say it'll be slightly by double digits. I'll say 11.
I would agree with that because I think Bethesda Christian is down a little bit this year.
I think they are, yes. And Anderson Prep is definitely up.
Yes, they are.
Seventh.
What a time to be a Jet.
Oh man, what a week!
Yes.
And by the way, twin brothers are the head coaches of the boys and girls. If there was an award, Michelle, for best tandem for boys and girls coach of the year for one school, you would have to seriously take a look at the Fath Hours at Anderson Prep.
Yeah, you would.
And for seventh place, 4-11 International is at 2-16 Burris. Burris has been playing a lot better. In fact, tonight, Thursday night, they beat Union Modoc 57-44 for their second win of the season, and they've been a little more competitive lately.
Well,
I think they win this game.
So that'd be good for them. It'd be nice for them to win this game.
Yeah, they got a couple of seniors who are starting to kind of take control of the offense, and it's really kind of working for them. So, thank you so much to Michelle for joining me. Glad we could get back together again after a couple of weeks where we had some overlapping not feeling well. So we both took a little time away, but we're back and better than ever. So thank you so much for joining us. And thanks again to Coach Daniels and Coach Renbarger for coming on and sharing his thoughts with all of you. Please do us a huge favor, like, subscribe, or follow us so you don't miss a single segment. And it would be very helpful to us if you would tell a friend about the Central Indiana Sports Report. The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media.